Welcome back to Wild Patch Homestead. My name is Steph and we are currently in a really weird area of my house. So we have our main bedroom and then it steps down into like another little room. There's no windows in this room. It could be used as a nursery, but we don't have a baby, and so therefore I use it as my food storage room because it is dark and it's a lot cooler in here as well. Now I want to just show you just briefly what I've got in here. This isn't where all of my food items are, my preserved items. I also have a linen closet and I've just taken that over with tomato products because I preserved up 60 kilos worth of tomatoes this season, just gone. And we've got sauces, relishes, just crushed tomatoes, all sorts in there. So this is just a really brief outlining of what I have here. I've just got stuff kind of crammed in around the house. I'm sure other people are the same. Like in my pantry, you know, I've got tins of baked beans, like cans of baked beans that I've preserved up. I've got black beans. I've got stews that are there for like on hand for quick, easy meals. But anyway, let's run through what we've got here. Just I'll give a little bit of feedback as well on what we've got, why we've got it, and whether I'll do it again. Alrighty, so these are just a couple of cube units. They're pretty cheap and cheerful, so they're not probably not overly sturdy, but they're taking the weight of it completely fine. So what I've got here is I call this pear pie filling. It's off the apple pie filling recipe, but I got a massive box of pears for cheap, so I did it with those instead. This is my last clementine marmalade. Unfortunately, the people we got the clementines from pulled the tree out as well. They're really hard to come by, but that took me a lot of time and effort and love went into that one. And then I've got a couple of apple pear sauces as well. I mainly use those in breads. So if I'm making, say, a banana bread and don't have bananas, I'll just chuck some of that sauce in there. Now, over here, I've started preserving up the quinces. Our friends gave us an entire tree load of quinces, so this was the first batch. I've also just got some of my homegrown Christmas lima beans. And I think down the back, I've got a whole jar of dehydrated capsicums as well. Over here are some of my baked beans. I used a Paul West recipe and just pressure canned them up and it's delicious. Over here I've got pickled curry cauliflower. Now that's taking a little while to go through. I honestly just had loads of cauliflower and I didn't know what to do with it. So I picked it all up in a curry sauce. But what I'm thinking, like curry powder, sorry. What I'm thinking of doing is washing it off and turning it into like cheesy cauliflower bake. These are a really special asparagus. My family and I really enjoy foraging down on the riverfront for asparagus where I live. Unfortunately, this year we suffered pretty bad floods, and so where we were going to pick got completely flooded out, and I was eating so much of it fresh because we were going down every day that this is all I had, and I quickly pickled it up, and I'm scared to use it because it's special, but I really do need to start getting through some of what we have here. So I'll bite the bullet and have that on pizza or something. Whoop. Alrighty, so down here I've got cowboy candy, some apricot jam, and I've got one watermelon. It's like a jam, but we call it a jelly, and then 3 nasturtium jellies as well. My son and I love that. The watermelon was purely just because I had watermelon, was it in the freezer or fresh? I can't remember, but it needed to be used up. So I whipped that up with that one. And nasturtiums, well, they're just a beautiful flower that we grow prolifically here. So I wanted to use them up. Pickled capsicums and some banana peppers as well. I actually have got pickled items over here too. I've got pickled carrots, 2 jars of pickled banana peppers, radishes, and then I've got 1 jar of black beans and 3 jars of potatoes left. Over here, this is a fail. It's not a fail because it didn't preserve properly. It's totally fine. We just don't like it. I had an abundance of greens last year and I didn't want to waste them, so I preserved them up, and I don't really need to do that. I don't really know what to use them in, so probably won't do that one again. They'll probably end up going to the chickens if I'm honest. Oh, and I can also see this is pickled coleslaw, and I hate it because I added kohlrabi to it and it ruined the flavour. We don't eat that. That goes to chickens when I am like, when I don't have many food scraps. Here we have the beetroot relish that I made. That has been a huge hit. I've given away so many jars of that. It is delicious. And then I've got 2 barbecue plums left at the front. I found this big Fowler's 31 jar of balsamic onions that I did up. Just love those. They are delicious. And over here we've got, I call it a plum syrup. It is based off of a plum jam recipe. I think I put a video up of this one. I don't add enough sugar for it to completely like set. So I call it a syrup, but it's like half set basically. Up here, we've got salsa verde from not the season just gone, the season before. So I think there's a March 2022. And I made some sriracha out of like green, mainly green, and a little bit of red, cayennes and jalapenos. What else have we got? An abundance of mulberry jam to get through still. We're so lucky. We have a family members of ours have this humongous mulberry tree. And so the kids and us, my husband and I went down and took our buckets and filled them all up. And I've got a couple of fig preserves here as well, but I actually have a lot of fig preserved. I can't remember where it is, but there's a couple there. I'm sure I have lots more somewhere because I had a whole painter's bucket full of figs. I went and grabbed one of our veg stews that I preserved up as well. I have a whole bunch of these. I always keep these on hand. It's just veggie stew. I do put my lima beans in here as well, but there's nothing fancy about it. It's really just for a quick, easy dinner. I do find though that the longer we keep these on the shelf, the richer the flavors are. So we do kind of let them sit for a little bit if we can. But this is in a Fowler's 36. It's a good size. So for 5 of us, I mean, you can add an extra jar of tomatoes to it as well when you're reheating it up, and that probably would make it go a little bit further. But yeah, that's really good for us with a loaf of bread basically. The white cupboard that was to the left of it that had the quinces sitting on top, that I'm now using to sit you guys. In there is just other bits and pieces that I grabbed. So regular ingredients like sugar, salt. You probably saw down the bottom I have got vinegar, rice, just bits and pieces. So I like just to keep on hand the basics basically of what we can really, just the basics really of what we need all the time or more regularly, I suppose. I've got like powdered veggie stock and things like that in there, soy sauce, more rice, pasta. I've got some big buckets in the corner as well with bread flour, plain flour, self-raising flour. I think that's it at the moment. But yeah, the goal really is just to keep building on that and keep getting this nice and full. I mean, this really is full. Like, I'm really happy with how this is looking. There's not actually enough room in here for all of our preserved goods. So that to me is a sign that we're on the right track. And this is what I love. This is what we really enjoy doing. This is the food that we enjoy eating. You know, like for instance, the pear filling, I got those pears on special. There's a fruit and veggie place here, and they've got like a discounted section, so they'll give like boxes away for $5, like full boxes. You know, the clementines were given to us, the figs were gifted to us as well. The quinces have been gifted to us. The jalapenos and the tomatillos to make these, like, we grew those. The plums I got for a big box from the fruit and veg place, like I said. Same place, $10 for a massive box of them. I got a lot of plum jam syrup stuff out of that. The beetroots we grew, the greens I grew, the pickled capsicums and banana peppers are a mix between some that have been grown from us and discounted produce as well. Cauliflowers I grew, the baked beans I did purchase the beans and stuff to go in those, but it was a really basic recipe, really easy recipe. So yeah, it was, it really didn't cost me much to make a really large batch of beans. Asparagus foraged. The apricots, I can't actually recall, but knowing me, I wouldn't have paid full price for the apricots. So I probably got those discounted as well at the fruit and veg place. Radishes I grew, potatoes I got on special. I think that's it. But basically anything there I either grew or got on special. Yeah, I'm not going to pay full price for things to preserve. I don't really see that as being very economical, I guess. It's just, some things are just cheaper just to buy already preserved from the shops. The reason I do preserve a lot of things on discount is more because, well, it started because I was learning and I didn't want to mess things up. But as I was going, I was like, this actually still tastes really nice. Like, why would I buy full price? But it also means that then we can look at what we want to grow. So we know that we eat certain items. And so now we know what we can grow. And then it will be like organically produced and preserved all by us. So that's kind of where we started, where we're heading. We still have a long way to go. I've been doing this for 3 years now. I believe I started in 2020. So I started the garden and learning how to preserve back then. And yeah, I now do all different types of food preservation. I mean, gosh, I hadn't even thought to mention like the dehydrated items that I have. I dehydrate so many things to make into different powders and seasonings and like, you know, I don't know, herbs and spices and stuff. So gosh, yeah, that's another thing. But that could be a video for another day. I would just have to get organized. We just had all the architraves and all the skirting done in here, and so all of this was in the middle of the room, so I've just pushed it all back, and I thought kind of was a good idea just to do a video while I was in here anyway. I only really come in here for clothes and food. Like, this says I don't hang out in this space. So, you know, it was meant to be my library, this area, by the way, but you can tell that the food preservation took over my love of reading. I love reading, but I can read from the couch. So I'm looking forward to one day having a pantry big enough to store. I don't know if we'll ever have a pantry big enough to store. Does anyone? Do you have a pantry big enough to store all of your preserved goods? I mean, I have still got maybe 6 boxes of jars that are currently, maybe 8. I have a lot of boxes of jars that are still empty, but that's just because we've already eaten through, like, say, the tomatoes, the relish. I think I made pizzas the other night and I did a video of that and brought you guys along, and on that one I used up 3 jars, and so that's 3 more jars that just get packed away. I might put some more quinces in them. I mean, it's a big jar. Oh, I could do pies though out of the quinces. So yeah, I could probably still keep using up some of the bigger jars. But yeah, I do like the small ones for the sweet items. But anyway, I'm getting off track now. You can hear my brain is like. So anywho, this is a portion of my food preservation of what we've done over the last few years, and I am actually looking forward to doing an update in the future, maybe after the next like summer, spring, but I'll include all the tomato products for you then as well. I think when I was filming me doing that, I would have put a video in of how many I'd done or something like that. It might be on my Instagram. I'll have to have a look. But I'll get more organized, I think, you know, over time as well. I'm sure I've seen some people with beautiful cabinetry filled with all of their goods, and I'm sure one day like we're gonna need something like that. So when all of our jars are full, you know, we'll have hundreds of jars full of produce. But that's what we have at the moment. Thanks again for joining me while I ramble on about a love of mine, which is preserving food. But yeah, please drop questions. You know, I'm happy to answer. I dehydrate, I water bath and pressure can a variety of different foods, and would love to help anyone along their journey. And if you have any questions about what we have here or why we would have it, yeah, drop a comment and yeah, let's have a chat. So thanks again, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye.